Okay guys, there seems to be a lot of talk in the gun community with civilians who carry a gun, and they talk about whether they carry with a round in the chamber or not. And I just wanted to give you some of my opinions and my reasonings for those opinions about why I say that you should always carry a gun with one in the chamber. And I've got some other details I need to explain about that as well. But basically, here's the thing, guys. When you carry your gun out there in the street as a civilian, if anything starts to go wrong or something goes down where you need to pull your gun, the criminal is already going to have the jump on you. Okay? 9 times out of 10, when you have to pull your gun, it's going to be a surprise to you. It's not something that you're going to walk into a situation like a police officer knowing that you may have to use your firearm. So if a criminal pulls out a gun or is robbing someone or is going to rob you, his gun is most likely already going to be ready. Or by the time he pulls his gun out and then chambers it, your mind's still absorbing all this, and now you have a gun that's still not chambered. And you have to pull out your gun, take the step to chamber it, which can be fast, okay guys? There's no doubt it can be fast. But there is some other reasons to why this could get you into a sticky situation if you ever need to pull your gun. Okay, now because let's say, the reason I say that the gun should be chambered is because when you pull that gun, you're pulling that gun because there's an emergency. You're pretty sure that you may most likely have to use that gun. Because you see, if somebody comes up to you on the street and they say, hey man, give me $10. Let's say you broke down in a bad area. You know, you might not walk around at night and get yourself in these situations and areas. So let's just say you broke down. Something common happens. There's a situation where you're out at night. Somebody comes up to you and it's all real shady and it just doesn't feel right. And the guy says, hey, give me 20 bucks. And you're feeling this intimidation, and you're feeling like you know what he means. Like, in other words, you're going to give me money. Now, as a civilian, you can't brandish your firearm to this guy to get him to back off and get him to run from you. See, that's kind of one of the things that's bad, that a civilian can't brandish. Because in this situation, there wasn't enough to warrant you pulling your gun to make this guy retreat. So, under the definition of law in most states, you are not allowed to brandish. Now, if you did brandish and this guy that was shady and you felt something was wrong and he's saying, give me $20, and he's giving you this look and demeanor, you know, body language is everything, and I'm going to do a video on body language. So that'll be coming up, stay tuned. Body language is everything. And you're feeling all this when he's saying, give me $20. Now, if you were to brandish your firearm, you know, and say, hey buddy, I'm telling you, I'm not the one to be messed with right now, or whatever that you would say. I'm just using that as a hypothetical. And this guy takes off. Most likely this guy isn't going to call the police. This is probably somebody that has a long criminal history, wants nothing to do with law enforcement, is not even going to attempt to call the police. And stuff like this happens a lot, guys. And then the guy that pulls the gun, the law-abiding civilian, does not call either. But if it were to come down to it, you would get a charge for brandishing. So that's why I say that most times when you're going to pull your gun, it's because there's a high probability that you will need your gun. Now, let's say a guy comes up to you with a knife. Now, this is definitely threat of serious bodily injury or death. Comes up, says, give me what you got in your pocket, and he pulls out a knife. It could be a fixed blade. It could be a folder. Now you have threat of serious bodily injury or death to you. Now, if you pull that gun and that man turns to flee, drops the weapon, or any similar circumstance to that, or retreats, you don't have cause to shoot that man now. There is no threat. But in that case, you did not brandish. You had the threat of serious bodily harm or death when you pulled your weapon, but because of the circumstances that as soon as he seen this gun being drawn, he retreated, he dropped the weapon, or he turned and took off. Now you have no cause to use deadly force, unless his force was going to continue towards you, and then you can use the force necessary to stop the threat. So that would be a case where you pull your gun, you don't actually use it, and you could not get a brandishing charge on that. But if a man comes and he has a gun that he pulls and it's already chambered, or he has a knife, you pulling out the gun and racking the slide while you're nervous, your adrenaline's giving this adrenaline dump, and all these different things going on in your mind. It's an extra step that you have to do to get that gun ready. Now here's another thing I got to qualify this video with, big time. If you don't feel safe enough with yourself to carry with a round in the chamber, I highly want to suggest to you to get some training, some professional training, or some heavy-duty practice, long-term practice sessions in before you even carry the gun. Because if you can't trust yourself to carry with one in the chamber, how well are you going to handle the firearm if you have to shoot at someone where there could be innocents around or a house in the backdrop that you could miss, you know, and things like that. Now, there is no law enforcement in the country, in this whole United States, that carries without a round in the chamber. It is policy. You have to carry with a round in the chamber, and there is good reason for that. If there wasn't good reason for it, law enforcement wouldn't carry with a round in the chamber. That's because when they pull that gun, they want that gun ready. The only thing they have to do is grab it. And even though as a civilian, you need to think along those same guidelines of why you need a round in the chamber, why it's department policy that every law enforcement officer has to carry with a round in the chamber. Okay? Because while you as a civilian are not law enforcement, there's going to be times where you would be pulling your gun just like a police officer would. And in those situations where he carries his gun, it is policy for him to have a round chambered. So get some professional training, get some practice. If you're dead set against carrying with a round in the chamber, for whatever safety reasons that you believe that you might violate, because the gun's not going to go off on its own, keep your finger out of that trigger. But if you strongly feel that for some odd reason that you can't safely carry a firearm with one in the chamber, you might want to think about switching to a revolver where you have that 11 or 12 pound full pull to cock and also release the hammer. And if that's what you feel safe with and that's what you feel best with, then you need to train with that and carry that. But I definitely say that you should always carry with a round in the chamber. Because just remember, guys, if you don't have enough training and practice to trust yourself to carry with one in the chamber, are you really going to trust yourself to fire off rounds in the street where there are houses, could be other people around and other things, to fire off a round at someone if you don't even feel that you can trust yourself to carry with one in the chamber and you carry a gun out in the street? You gotta kind of think about those things. So I just wanted to let everyone know and do a video about that, why I think you should carry with one in the chamber. Alright guys, I hope you found this vid informative, and I hope it helps you out, gives you something to think about. Until next time, this is H4T, and I am out.